Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 in red. Look at Schluck, 10 watts per kilo.
Oh,
that is a massive kick over the top.
That's a sprint over the top from Schwartz.
This is a bold move by the UAE clan team. They are working to try and go clear. If they take the 5, remember, this is a 45k race. We're not even at half race distance yet. They're led by Carlos Andres. Roncalli is coming to him. And this is where the Category 3 riders are pushing. They're going to go over the top of Tom Gates. They've got over him, and Orengo has got the lead here with the red helmet. Orengo's going to take it.
Staples pushes really hard. 10 watts per kilo. He wants the win. So does Roncalli. They're going to sweep round the corner, and they're going to see the banner. Staples, Roncalli, and Gates. Who is going to take this? I think it's going to be Staples. Staples is your winner.
This is the run in to the line. He's going to kick his way up here. It's going to be a run to the finish. It's going to be David Dunn who's going to take victory in qualifier number 3 in the men's race. This is the first look we get today at this technical finish over the top of the climb. The dip down and the run up is critical. It's going to be a run for the line. It's going to be race victory. First over the line will be Daniel Martinez Geraldo. He's caught them napping here, and he's got off the front. He's able to hold it, and nobody's responding with enough watts to make this. Today's win is going to go to Carl Soraya. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is a race number 1 of, wait for this, August. Yes, where has the time gone? We are bringing you all of the race action all the way through our qualifiers and into the finals. My name's Matt Payne. I'm coming to you live from Glasgow, where the World Championships of many different disciplines is going to be taking place. And down in the studios in Sheffield, it is Emma Martin. Morning, Emma. Afternoon, Emma. I don't know what time it is where you are. It feels like I'm in a different planet, to be honest.
Well, it's great to be here today, and it is whatever time you want over 24-hour clock around the world, because that is where our riders are today. They are coming to the Sunday Race Club from everywhere in the world, whether it is 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 1 p.m. or 8 p.m. for you. Thank you very much for joining us. It's great to have you here for qualifier number 1 in August. We are heading to Arabia, 45 kilometers today, 997 meters of climbing. We are heading up the Hebel Hace, and this is the course in front of our riders today. So 2 climbs today: the Aquarium climb, a Category 4 climb, 3.3 kilometers, an average gradient of 3%. But then the hot category climb that comes at 31 kilometers into this race today. 13.5, I'm going to say that again, 13.5 kilometers in length, an average gradient of 6%. The race is really going to play out today there. Now, along the way, we have 5 sprint segments to give us an indication of what the racing is doing. And a note today, just 130 meters of climbing outside of those 2 Category 2 climbs. So a fairly flat race today.
Well, let's see who's going to take that on first. Well, it's going to be our Category 4 riders for sure, but a big race field. Take us through just a few of those names, Emma.
Yeah, so 35 riders on the start sheets today in Category 4. Francis is here, McMurray is here, Astorga, Zanaska, Nowak is here, Finati, Soberg, Acevedo, Decker, Ramos, who is well known for a very fast start. So going to be really interesting to see how this plays out today in Category 4.
So our Category 4 riders taking on the course. They'll be the first riders away on the first qualifier of August.
So we are down on the start line and in with Soberg today. The legs are spinning, the seconds are ticking down for what is qualifier race number 1 in August, and the Sunday Race Club is away. Our category 4 riders are up and out of the start pen. The pack is already moving fast. It's topped 40 kph within the first 10 seconds of racing, as it is Ramos that flies off of the start today. So Ramos absolutely doing what Ramos does best, setting the pace out of the start pen. And the line of category 4 riders down the boardwalk behind him, well, that is some race start.
It is a great race start, and Renato Sartorio Ramos, if you haven't seen these, is notorious, stroke famous, stroke one of our greatest instigators of action, and certainly makes our life entertaining from the word go on the Sunday Race Club in category 4. He's always kicking off on start, and there are some really valid reasons for this, isn't there, Emma, to go hard from the gun?
Yeah, absolutely. Get up and out. And the race field today in this men's race, Matt, is absolutely huge. 35 riders in category 4, and the way the categories work, it's a like ability riders put together. So, and we know from watching the racing week in, week out, that sometimes it's seconds, less than seconds, and separate the field. I'm not going to give any spoilers as to who it was, but in the women's race we've just seen, with a long climb at the end of the race, a category 2 climb, it came down to a sprint, and 1 second separated the top 5 riders. So take a look at the YouTube channel, the MyWhoosh YouTube channel, to see who those top 5 riders were and watch that women's race, because it was absolutely phenomenal, particularly in those latter stages. But the race field, 100 women on the start sheets today, 180 men on the start sheets today. You do not want to be taking people into a sprint finish if you can help it. Now, making your intention clear from the gun, or making your intention clear in the latter stages of the race, is absolutely part and parcel of being in the top 5, because today in the qualifier race number 1 is the top 5 individuals in each category that are awarded prize money. The team competition comes into play in our monthly final, but that is a long way off now in August, because this is qualifier race number 1.
So our riders away, the first wave on the move, are moving nicely through here, travelling at 40 kilometres an hour, so 25 miles per hour, and Ramos again pushing hard here as we come up to 1 3/4 kilometres of a racing distance covered of this 45-kilometre race. And Martin Noli, another of those riders who we know is going to respond and are likely to push up the pace here, put people in trouble, break up this group, lose some riders. As Emma was saying, taking a big group of riders into any finish is always risky. Get those odds down. We've got a big climb at the end. I mean, the numbers just don't lie. And in fact, if you take the 2 climbs together and you add up the meters of the 2 climbs together, basically the rest of it is almost non-existent, and that makes a huge difference. But that doesn't mean you can't finish this race off. So here we go, the category 4 riders away. They will hit the first of those sprint sections at about 3 kilometres. I think before we reach that stage, and we're going to need to jump across to our category 3, because no matter how fast these riders go, category 3 are not going to wait for them. They are down on the start line. They're lined up and ready to go. We have got some really strong riders in the race field as always, and great to see the Go Hard team represented by Pablo Junior de Manuan, and the Colombian Andrean team by Esteban Bulgarian and Carlos Alberto Oran Arayev. They are the riders in there, but we have a massive pack of individuals as well.
Yeah, we do indeed. Gakes is here, Aaron, Proust, Montoya, Sanchez, Dadson, Staples, who took second in the final last week. Pledger, Lloyd, Smithson is back, so is Eckersley. So it's going to be a really good race today, I think, in category 3.
Yeah, I would agree entirely. So here we go. Category 3 lined up, ready to roll. It is time to make sure you go with that pack. You get out of the start cleanly. It's qualifier race number 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And we are go. It's time to hit the boardwalk, to head on to the tarmac. We're heading away from the mangroves, away from the vegetation. We're going to be heading into town. And the riders need to get a quick start here. They know that with this big pack of riders, the amount of draft available at the speeds they're going to be riding is going to be an absolutely key tool for them to use as they head out and around the very first sections. Of course, in fact, all the way to nearly 24 kilometers. The draft will be the biggest benefit they can take from this race, I think, and use as little energy as possible whilst protecting their position. So here we go. They're away. They are moving quickly. 33 kph, so maybe not quite as fast as we saw from our Category 4 initially because we had Ramos on the attack. But this is a big pack who have headed out. Some very familiar names. Did you see Smithson go through there? Rodriguez, Dadson, Demanuan tucked in nicely. Gachokov in there. Guarin in there. David Winfield, Ellos in. Heath Eckersley. It is a who's who. Basically, you could just read the entire race field out.
I know, and honestly, when you take a look at all of the start sheets, which I have laid out in front of me today, all 180 riders who are riding the Sunday Race Club this morning, it really is a who's who. Not just a who's who of our regular races and the riders we know where we have strength and depth, but we have new riders today also in Category 1, and we will talk about those a little bit later. But it is really becoming the place to be on a Sunday. You know, the Sunday Race Club is phenomenal racing and great competition, whatever level of racing you are at.
Indeed, and we do have a number of riders out and racing and lucky enough to be up at the World Championships. Was putting words to the action in the downhill in Fort William only a few hours ago, in fact, and a fantastic race. If you haven't watched it, you might not be into downhill racing, but I've just got a message coming through that says somebody's 84-year-old grandmother was on the edge of her seat for the entire way through the shows. It's lovely to have that feedback, but it's even more lovely that we've managed to keep the racing exciting on the downhill for people. So please do have a watch. We love being here on the Sunday Race Show, so stay here. Keep watching the action. We've got lots of action on its way. Categories 3 and Category 4 are underway, and at the moment Category 4 just starting to break up.
Well, Category 4 really giving us some great racing already within the first 5 kilometres of this course today. And looking at the course profile, we thought this was all going to be about the end of the race when the only way is up. But the Category 4 riders on the flatlands at the start really bringing it to the racing today. Martinoli, McMurtry, all giving it on the front and ensuring the pace stays high on the right-hand side of your screen. On the left-hand side of your screen, well, the pace is a little bit steadier in our Category 3 race field, and you can see right across the road 5 riders wide in this Category 3 race field, as it's looking like we may just have one that corner ahead of everybody else. So one rider just pushing on there.
So one rider just starting to go clear at the front of this Category 3 race field. We're just riding in with Matt Smithson at the moment. His heart rate 130 beats per minute, 85 revs per minute. They are not responding to this move that has gone down the road there. Yeah, Xavier Mayer. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the MyWhoosh Championships, where we gave away $1 million in a prize fund, on that. Please do go back and watch it on MyWhoosh Live or on the YouTube. That you can pick it up on either. There's some amazing racing in that. Xavier Maillard, really, that was his breakthrough ride on MyWhoosh, where he came to our attentions time and time again, and he did it in this way. He went out and he put himself out in front of the groups. He attacked, he was aggressive, he really pushed on. It's great to see Xavier back in with us once again on the race club, and becoming a bit of a regular here when it comes to racing on the Sunday Race Club. He's joined by riders across 4 categories, remember? So the riders in categories 4 and 3 on the road, categories 2 and 1 go. Now, in the women's race, categories are all on 5-minute gaps. It is a 10-minute gap between categories 3 and 2. So a little bit more time to look at our riders. As you can see, the 2 categories underway at the bottom of your screen. The 2 categories are waiting to go on the top of your screen. And because we've got 4 categories, well, we give away 4 sets of prize money. And that is really key here, because if we want to make the discipline grow, then MyWhoosh firmly believe, and got to agree 100% with them, that you've got to reward the riders to enable them to set aside the time that it takes. So we have 2,160 AED for first. In category 4, down to 432 AED. And as Emma said earlier, the team's classification kicks in when we get to our finals only. So at the moment, all the way through the qualifiers, it's individual. For team's classification, it is then finals only. So category 4 is our standard level, and that is 2,160 AED. You can see that is the equivalent of 3rd place in category 3, because the top prize moves up to 3,600 AED. The team prize are jumping up as well, and from 3 to 2 we have another big jump. So we start to jump up from 3,600 AED. That moves all the way up to 6,000 AED in category 2. Emma, these are big prizes that are coming out, and of course it gets even bigger at category 1.
It does indeed get increased to category 1, because you can see the individual win today in category 1, 10,000 AED, 50,000 AED in the team's classification at the end of the month. Now, 10,000 AED in New Zealand dollars, Matt? 4,513 as of the exchange rate on my phone right now. So we are giving you 4,513 New Zealand dollars.
Ah, okay, New Zealand dollars. Now, if you haven't been watching the women's show earlier, and you haven't been watching the races previously, we are trying to give you an equivalent of AED around the globe. Now, we are at some point going to have to sit down and do a list of all the ones we've already done, but we want you to suggest a few more. So wherever you are in the globe, whatever currency you want to know, please do get in touch. Don't get in touch with me, because I'm rubbish, as you all know if you've been watching, with numbers. What you need to do is get in touch with Professor Emma Martin, the number cruncher supreme, and send her what kind of currency you would like to have 10,000 AED in. Do you want to know it in rupees? Do you want to know it in American dollars? Do you want to know it in sterling? They're pretty standard currencies, you know, let's face it, you know, US dollars and sterling and AED. We pretty much all know this, but what we want something a little bit more out there. Something, just test Emma's currency level calculations on the way through. They are obviously to be given as a guide. They're not a rule. You're not necessarily going to get that if you walk into your local currency exchange. However, it does give you an indication of just how supportive MyWhoosh is for the racing. So please do get in touch with Emma. Emma, where can they get in touch with you?
Oh, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram.
Indeed. So at Biking Emma on Instagram, make sure you get in touch. If you've got some stories that are telling us what you're up to, get in touch with me. It is at Matt Fixerpain on Instagram, on Facebook. You can catch up with me on Strava. There's always some entertaining stuff on there, Honest Gov, and you can always laugh at just how shattered I am at the end of a day's commentary. Now, let's get back to our riders. Categories 3 and 4 underway. Category 4, the first on the road at 8.5 kilometres covered. Category 2 are ready to go. This is big, our second biggest race field of the day. We have teams in here as well. Now we have got the Hitmen are back looking for a number one today. Is Nicholas Spratt, Olivier Simmons, and Henry Uys. We've got the Panolati squad. Will Filippo Quadrali be able to show the form that he has been on, which has been absolutely spectacular so far? And of course, we've got the UAE Falcons, Zayed Hamdan, Ahmed Al Tanashi, and Hassan Al Ramethri. The UAE Falcons almost ever present. A big race field, though, Emma.
40 riders on the start sheets today as the clock ticks down into the final seconds. They are on the boardwalk and they are away on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Category 2. Our green jerseys are out of the start pen. The race is up to pace already, 35 kph and rolling as the group come out of the pen. We're in with Nicholas Spratt, one of our riders now. Spratt, Winfield, Smythe, Cadiz, Angarita, Parisi, Roncalli, Cahan, Bjarhead, Betty, Ochoa are all in this race field. They are phenomenal riders who we have seen week in, week out, give us great entertainment. The Hitmen were number one team last week. We know in the individual competition, Spratt, Simmons and Uys give us great racing and they are often up there in the top 5. Who is it going to be today? Well, we are going to see. We've got 45 kilometers of racing to find that top 5.
So let's see who will be in the top 5. And those names, I mean, we're picking those out because they are proven riders, aren't they? I mean, we see this time and time again. They're riders who are up there. They've got that pace, they've got that power, they've got the strength, they've ridden the platform, they've got used to this, and that is really key.
It is. It really is, because you have to understand the techniques and the tactics of riding on MyWhoosh. It's not just a case of jump on your bike and it feels exactly like riding outdoors or wherever it is you ride. There is specific technique to understand and to learn on the MyWhoosh platform. Now, part and parcel of that might be position in the draft and how to make the most of the draft. It may also be about momentum, because momentum is absolutely key. And understanding how you can utilize a downhill to gain momentum to the benefit of your race strategy, you know, these are things you need to learn, and the only way you can learn it really is by being part of it.
Definitely, and that being part of it is key. Everyone who races know you've got to practice the discipline, you've got to practice the sport, you've got to practice how it feels or how it responds, when to attack, how much the wonderful subject of time lag, because time lag is something that is in all sports. You know, you see a move go on the track and the velodrome, you've got to then respond to that. Now, that time lag, there might be the time it takes you to process hearing the noise of somebody's disc wheel being rocked side to side on the wooden boards, and the boards changing sound, the disc changing sound, maybe the sound of them coming past you. You feel that, you've got to then respond, kick down, get that drive through the chain. When you're riding on MyWhoosh or on esports, depending on your setup at home, on your smart training, there can be a lag between the time, not just to process what's going on from the images you're seeing, but actually putting that through your turbo trainer and then it being picked up by the receiver. So really, really key to ride, to know what that lag is and what that pace and that timing is on the way through, and that does vary so much. Now, category 3, we are seeing another move on the road at the moment, and look at this. No surprises to see Pledger in here. So Alex and Rob off down the road. Rob Miller, Alex Pledger, the riders making the way ahead. They've got an 8-second gap at the moment at 8 kilometers. They are not wanting to leave this to the final climb. And we did say this is relatively flat. Relative is a word that is very applicable to flat sections, of course, and that is for sure. Some of us are like hills more than the others, let's say. And I'd like a nice short hill every time. Remember, we'd like a nice long draggy climb like the one at the finish, I'm sure. Category 2 riders, well, they're using the bridges to attack over the top, but we are in with Category 1 because we are heading in to a race start time For Category 1, it is our riders on that race start. Now, we've got some big teams in it here. They don't come any bigger than the UAE clan team. Nuts and Vink, Popovic, SS and Mr. X100. They are the team to beat. They are the team who have set themselves up as the dominant team with the strongest riders. But can Zanasca Mayor of Italian Gelato and can the riders Martins and Van den Eyck, the Belgian Waffle Squad, challenge them? They've got Stephen Yates of WMC jumping in, as well as lots more individual riders. And Emma, this race field is going to be stacked. It's going to be fast.
It is going to be stacked. It is stacked. 70 riders on the start sheets today. Absolutely phenomenal, and we'll pull out some of those riders shortly.
So here we go. It's time to go. Race attack time. If you're going to go from the gun, it is race number 1, qualifier number 1 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and Category 1, the final race category, where you can see the emotes going off as these riders kick off from the start. And this is a huge race field. Everybody who joins from the word go jumps into one until they are allocated their category. So we've got a massive mix of ability levels, of rider levels, but they're all taking to the start, and already we've got a big push on the front with, I think, Jay Howeiler opening up the throttle early and pushing on at the front of this race. That's a big, quick, early kick, and that really is making these riders respond. We're already onto the tarmac. We've come off the boardwalk. This race is definitely one to remember, because we've gone from the word go, and this is going to surprise a few people.
Well, the pace of this pack is really high, over 40 kph and moving, because we've got one rider off the front and the pack are motoring behind. The draft that this group of riders are going to get in the size of this pack and the pace that this pack is moving at is going to be phenomenal. You do not want to be at the front of that group. You want to be in the middle, or perhaps a third of the distance because of the size. You really want to be taking the draft. Now, it's not the rider with the highest watts overall that wins the race, but often it is Phil Graves, the rider off the front, and it is indeed today. Graves is setting his intention out. The pack is huge. Graves is doing his work. He's attacked early. He's gone off the front, and well, we've got SS now coming to the front chasing, because I was going to say there's no chase from behind, but you can trust the UAE clan team to sort things out, and indeed they are. SS coming to the front to bring the group back to Graves. It's a stretch on the group at the moment as they take that right-hand bend. Il Pino, Mayer, X100 all in there. Kaminsky coming up as well as Montoya. So the group now starting to stretch, starting to work, but they're making SS do all the work, you know, Matt.
He is. He's doing all this work. He's the rider on the front. He's doing 100% of this at the moment, and he could well just bridge across if he'd have put a big kick in with that. But I think you're 100% right. 100% of the work being done by SS, because it is about controlling the race. They know Phil Graves. Phil Graves has ridden on this platform pretty much since the very first dawn of time. I think pretty much beats the Alain Beehive huts on the base of the Yebel Hafit and their agent. I mean, Phil Graves has been around riding on this forever, and he is a known danger to them. When Phil Graves is on form, he can go take that race when he could solo off the front. He's a full-time triathlete. He's a rider who has got that strength and power to solo away. He doesn't need other riders. And the riders recognise that in that UAE clan team, because riders like SS and Mr. X100 have been racing against him since the very get-go. So, let's see what they're going to do. SS is coming across. The rest of the riders have not been able to hold his wheel. I think we're going to see two riders at the front. Will SS work then? Will the UAE clan team go, well, do you know what, everybody else? It's time for you to work to close them down, because we've got SS up the front and we've got Phil Graves up the front. That means we've got a 50-50 chance of taking the win if you guys don't work to bring this back. But I think we're going to see a response. Another rider now looking to bridge across. They're starting to come in ones and two. Carsten Mayer, the next rider on the move here. And Emma, this is what we're going to see. Riders coming forwards or across the gap until it becomes the lead group again.
Well, exactly. They are starting to mark it because you can start to see who is coming up to the front of that pack and no longer sitting in it. Sitting in it is no longer the safe place. So Carsten Mayer moving up, Stefan van Elst moving up, Michael Knudsen, Jakob Bjorklund, Lionel Vujassin, Johan Norren. These are the riders week in, week out who are at the fore of this race. It was indeed Vujassin who took third spot behind Popovic and Knudsen in the July final in Wollongong. So riders now coming up and marking, one of our new riders in there as well, which is really good to see. So Said Keradine there now, rider from Morocco. First time on the Sunday Race Club, really looking forward to seeing what he can do. You know, his stats are superb, so may well be in the mix later on today. Welcome to the Sunday Race Club, really looking forward to watching what happens.
So our riders on the way through, new riders joining us, and Emma in front of us, coming from Morocco with the homework that we do. It is quite extensive. We don't just rock up. If only that was the case. Everybody thinks it's just talking on what you see. It certainly isn't. The volume of time spent in the offices, glued to screens, searching, internet stalking everybody that we can find on the way through. Definitely a full-time job. And as you can see, as they came through the line that time, on the very first of our sprints, this snapshot shows just how aggressive the racing is. Sometimes we don't see Category 1 the fastest group. Today we do. Theme coming through 22.547 seconds the time for him to cover that 300 meters from 3k to 3.3k covered. But look who is sitting in second place, Mr. X100, marking out the most very quickly up there. Michael Vink in there as well. We've got Hoyos in, a man definitely to watch on that big long climb. We know he is a great climber. We've got great to see. We've got Harrison Bailey in here. There's a real mix of riders from Group 1, but they are motoring and motoring fast. But the gap is out. Fabiano Arengo, the leading rider in the pack, is 9 seconds down on our two race leaders, Phil Graves and SS.
Yeah, they are indeed. And I'm just having a little look back through those results. 41 riders in the leading group, well, other than these two who are off the front of the leading group in that Category 1 race. So these two riders now 12 seconds clear of what is 39 riders chasing hard. And I've just had a little scroll back through because whilst they are on the start sheets, I was double checking as to whether they are in the race, because we've got a number of riders, Matt, from the Sunday Race Club joining you in Scotland for the Grand Fondo at the World Championship. So Ross Fawcett, Bart van den Eckhart, and Martin Martins, just some of the riders who we normally see week in, week out on the Sunday Race Club, qualifying for that Grand Fondo, which took place in Scotland in some rather wet conditions, I think.
Yes, the weather for the World Championships is, let's say, variable. So the championships of the first time that we've had 13 different disciplines together at the World Championships. So the esports, the cyclocross, the mountain bike XCE, and a couple of us not part of that, but the big World Championships is a global World Championship. It's going to happen every 4 years. Now, that means that we're going to split apart next year, but the weather here for the Global World Championships, it's Scotland in the summer. Anyone who's been here will know that it's really variable. You can get 4 seasons quite literally in one day. And we were getting that certainly up at Fort William, which is about 160 kilometres north of Glasgow. The Grand Fondo was just out across to the east. That was experiencing a very, very bad weather over the weekend. That actually was having, it was a northeasterly wind, it was blowing the rain into the east side of the country. They stitched for some very damp conditions. The men's road race is currently being run off in dry conditions, but the events run right the way through to the indoor cycling. Well, that's not going to be affected by it. Emma's going to get the nice dry indoor discipline to be talking about the weekend. But our riders on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club racing that Grand Fondo long distance, and it's great to see. I mean, we know people like Tadej Pogacar. He uses the MyWhoosh platform, and all the UAE teams do that. But great to see that the riders who are attacking, like we're seeing Luke Alport here in Category 4 on the attack, those riders that we see lighting up the action, they're out there and they're racing at the World Championships. I'm really looking forward to hopefully managing to catch up with one or two of them and what they've been up to. If we don't get them in real life, we'll get them on the internet. Now, the big pack in Category 1 continue to motor the way through, just going through the start of the Silent Dunes sprint and making the way through, and these riders are very quickly up to pace. You can just see they're about to catch a rider from the Category 2 race field, but the chase is coming through, and Francis Pino here continue to squeeze just through the end of that. They're going to be up on the screen very shortly, I'm sure, in terms of results, but at the moment the action has kicked off because they came through, they've gone down into this dip. It's going to level off, and that sprint, whilst it wasn't the sprint itself that triggered it, it was in just the right place to catch the action as we start to see another wind up on the front, as the riders do not want to let Phil Graves and SS get too much further down the road. You ready for the gap? 21 seconds the difference between front to back, and I tell you something, they weren't exactly motoring, because look at that result.
Yeah, so the fastest 22 riders through that segment, well, they were all Category 3 riders. In 23rd place, SS, the first Category 1 rider through, but it is Kochikov that takes the segment in 18.5 seconds. Luke Bala in 2, William Hoyas in 3, Wangarin in 4, and Rafael Montoya in 5. So it really is going to Category 3 there. Category 1, well, other than SS and Graves, well, the rest of them, it's a very, very steady space, because they are pretty much towards the bottom of the riders coming through. In fact, the last 40-odd riders through that segment, well, that's pretty much most of the Category 1 race field. So we're back in with Van Elst.
Stefan Van Elst at the moment, the rider on.
So Van Elst
with Stefan Van Elst on the way up this climb, working his way up this straight, making a quick move. It's looking good for Van Elst here as he goes up the climb. He's in pursuit, just jumping over the top of everything.
So Van Elst pushes on. Graves and SS, well, they are 20 seconds up the road. Tim Cutler now pushing on the group behind us. Well, the group now coming back to Van Elst's rear wheel. They are absolutely working hard because they do not want to let it go. So as we continue with this Category 1 race field, they are absolutely making sure that nobody else goes clear from this race field, continuing to push on, continuing to work hard. Absolutely clear that Graves and SS down the road are, no one else is going to make that a group of 3. A group of 2 is more than enough, and if this group worked together, they could indeed pull them back. Now Knudsen is in here with Holweller and Vujasin, and in fact, if Graves and SS turned and looked over their shoulders, they would not see that chasing group at the moment. 21 seconds still clear as Graves and Safrazad SS are working together. It's Safrazad now on the front, and Safrazad now pushing at 7 watts per kilo. Kaminsky is with him to try and close the gap, but Graves and SS continuing to push on. So Safrazad pushing on Kaminsky there as well. So is Hernandez and Bjorklund and Nair. Everybody now working together, trying to push on. Safrazad looking as though he's starting to go clear, because whilst Kaminsky is there, do you know they're rolling around on the front of that group and they are not looking to go with him. So side Safrazad back on the Sunday Race Club, putting an attack in here and trying to bridge the gap to SS and Philip Gray. Graves. They are now 18 seconds down the road as Safrazad continues to push. Safrazad pushing, the response not really coming from that group behind. They are 9 kilometers into this race. Graves and SS are still 20 seconds down the road. And in fact, there's a Category 2 rider in between Safrazad and the 2 leaders.
So apologies, just dropping out there here live at the, I'm coming to you live from the Glasgow World Championships, actually out in the outside broadcast truck out here. So apologies for that slight break in proceedings. Emma has kept you up to date with the action. World Championships, actually we got bombed out. The volume of people up here is absolutely crazy, and great to see so many people who watch the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club coming in and chatting to us. So fantastic, guys, great to see you, and great to have you with us. Emma is going to take you through the action whilst we just do more checks to make sure we're 100% good.
So we are just in with side Safrazad at the moment. Safrazad continuing to push on, but the group now coming back to him. So Juan Hoyes is the rider with Carsten Mayer coming back to the rear wheel of Safrazad. Safrazad was the rider who put the push on to try and catch the 2 riders who have gone off the front of this Category 1 race field. Those 2 riders being SS and Phil Graves. They've gone down the road, but Safrazad now being brought back into the pack. Harrison Bailey is there, Lona Vujassin, Michael Vink coming to the fore. Continuing to work Simon Walter, Martin Harburg in here too. So this pack stacked with phenomenal riders as we see a push again. But the 2 riders they are chasing well, SS and Phil Graves, they are down the road and not with this group. So the gap to SS and Phil Graves now gone out to 25 seconds because this group, well, they're playing around a little bit, playing around and not having a concerted effort and a concerted chase. So this Category 1 race field continuing to roll. Michael Knudsen well in the mix. Now Knudsen was second to teammate Popovic in the July men's final. That was on the Wollongong course, a very different course to today, because today we are in Arabia. We are going up the Jebel Hafiz, and should I just say that again? We are going up the Jebel Hace today. We're not going up the Hafit, but it is a huge climb regardless. It is a Hawk category climb, 13.5 kilometers coming at the end of this race with a 6% average gradient. It's a phenomenal climb, but SS and Philip Graves have gone off down the road. That attack from Graves covered by SS. They are now 30 seconds clear, and you can see that we've got Graves and SS on the right hand side of your screen, the chasing pack on the left hand side of your screen, and it is looking like around 330 meters that they now have on that group, and they are continuing to push on at the moment. So SS doing the work. He is in that blue cap and blue shoes. Graves in the ride behind with the yellow hat on, so you can see SS doing the work there, making sure the pace is high. Graves just taking the toe at the moment, coming up to the side of SS, but SS very happy to continue with this and continue with this breakaway. On the right hand side of your screen, that is the chasing pack. They are very, very steady. Take a look. Michael Knudsen's heart rate 146 at the moment. Very, very steady. We've seen his heart rate head up towards 201 in the latter stages of the race. Now that tells me that this is a steady pace coming from this chasing group. There is no concerted effort at all at the moment to bring Graves and SS back. So Graves and SS continuing to work, taking in turns on the front of the two. So a 2-up time trial at the moment from Graves and SS, working well for them. Harburg, Ilpino, Zanaska, Sultan, all coming through and taking their turn on the front of the group, but it is not taking a turn with a big dig. It is just a automatic roll through on the front because the pace is so steady. Knudson's heart rate has dropped to 137. So in a very short period of time, the pace has come even further back off that chasing group at a much steadier pace. No effort at all, leaving Graves and SS out. So the group of Category 1 riders continuing to roll. You can just see on the top right-hand corner of your screen the satellite navigation image, the little green triangle indicating where the riders are on the course. So currently just on a slight incline, just shy of 3% at the moment, not stretching these riders out. The other thing we can see on the bottom right-hand side is the time splits to the riders ahead. The time splits to Graves and Estes now out to 40 seconds, but Luke Allport in that red jersey, well, he is the leader on the road at the moment, currently leading that Category 4 competition, just going under the polka dot banner, indicating the start of the first climb today. That's a Category 4 climb, the Aquarium climb. It's 94 meters of climbing over a 3.3 kilometer distance. So whilst Allport heads on to that first Category 4 climb, it's Michael Knudson from the UAE clan team pushing on at the front of this group. So they've now had enough of Graves and SS being out, and the 40-second gap is more than they want. So Knudson coming to the front at 6 watts per kilo. Knudson's there. Van Elst has come through to help Bjorklund and Kaminsky, Mayer and Cutler. Noren is there as well. Everybody making sure they have got their positioning right, because the stretch on this group, it was 39 riders in this chasing group, and the stretch is coming with the push on the front now. So Kaminsky, Van Elst, Knudson are all in here. Matt, are you back with us?
I am indeed. Apologies to everybody. We are right in the middle of the World Championships, and as you would expect, there are a lot of people around us. It is incredibly busy, and it does mean that every now and then the connections do get jumped about. That on the TV broadcaster, which is a massive setup here, but I have been able to watch the action right the way through, which has been great. It's I get to do what you guys are doing and watch the racing, which is great fun, and great to see the riders going through, and interesting to see now that the race is hotting up, the pace is going up. We're seeing Category 1 up on the front of the race and leading through on the sprint, the Heritage Village sprint. Very quick and very fast time, 22.131 the time through there. You can see all of the watts per kilo right up, those numbers coming up. We're seeing 6s pretty much across the board, 1 or 2 5s, but there are high 5s in there as well. And just a clear indication that although it might not be sprint speed, it's definitely race speed. So these riders riding strongly. So Pino, Arrego, Popovic, Hoyos, Quintero, Harberger, Mendekowitz, Spina, Nair, Marino, Volta, and Volk, the top 12. But very close together. And this leading group really are pushing here. This is a big pack, and it's got some serious draft.
It is a big pack, Matt. Currently 34 riders in this chasing group, 2 riders down the road. So 36 riders in total in contention at the moment in this Category 1 race. But it's Graves and SS down the road. And just taking a look at the numbers here, I'm thinking, well, yes, the pace has backed off again from this chase group. So Knudson had come through to do a concerted effort, but the pace now backing off again. So SS and Graves taking turns on the front. I'm looking at this thinking that's still around 30 seconds at the moment, and looking like around 320 meters. So still pretty much the same distance, you know. Again, still about 30 seconds, but it's Cutler coming to the front of that chasing group now with Hoyos and Mayer. The pace gone well off. They are just rotating through as a pack. But SS and Graves continuing to time trial away. So a 2-up time trial from Graves and SS. One person coming to the fore and taking their turn. The next rider coming through, taking their turn. The two of them working together and continuing to ride away from the pack.
And I'm wondering now how long SS will continue to stay in here with Phil Graves, because he knows that the group behind has it under control. They're doing that work anyway. If he drops back to the group, will it change the dynamics? Because when he's on the wheels of Phil Graves at the moment, it's not as easy as riding in with that main big pack. Two riders just doesn't generate the draft of a big group. And would you, Emma, in this situation, decide to come back? I think I would want to stay out there, but that's just me. That's just because, you know, I love an aggressive race, even though it very rarely pays off. But what would you be doing in this situation?
Well, I'm going to answer a different type of question. If I was in this pack, what I would be doing is staying in this pack.
Answer the question.
I don't think SS and Graves are going to stay out there. I think they are going to push on. They are out there. They are trying to split the dynamic of this race. But we know Graves doesn't normally climb as well as the rest of some of the other riders in this bunch at the moment. SS, I think, will have gone out to mark Graves with the view that other riders coming across, all trying to keep a rider up the road to keep a watch on him. What would I do? If I was SS, I would probably stay out there with Graves, because actually, you know, it's making Graves push on, it's making Graves work, it's trying to make the group ride and respond from behind, because the UAE clan team don't want 34 riders going into the bottom of that climb. They've got phenomenal climbers. They've got Popovic, they've got Vink, and they've got Knudsen and X100. We know all of their riders can climb really, really well, but you don't want the risk of taking 34 riders in, knowing that some of them are unknowns. We have brand new riders on the Sunday Race Club this week, brand new riders who are phenomenal bike racers. You know, there is a risk. I think the UAE clan team are playing this a little bit interesting.
I think they are, and that means, as you can see, that Category 1 is that two riders out front being held by the group behind. Category 2, at the moment, they are at 20 kilometres. They've not yet reached the first climb, the Aquarian climb. However, you can tell just by the fact that they are surrounded by water that Category 3 are on that climb. They're at the base of the climb. Category 4 are well up that climb, the climb finishing at 27 kilometres. So Luke Allport, the rider who went on the attack solo in Category 4, currently at 26.6k. At 24.7k, you've got Rob Miller with Alex Pleasure, the two leaders in Category 3. Behind Categories 2 and 1, they're not into the tunnels. And this part of the course, this is the first climb of any substantial note on the course. The rest are big enough to hurt, they're big enough to cause attacks, but they are not full-on climbs. But coming into it will be a Category 2. They're currently at 20 kilometres, and the climb itself starts at 23.7, so they've still got a fair distance to go, but they are on a bridge at the moment, just going over the edge of the water here at 3.5%. So these bridges, they're enough to do damage, Emma.
Well, they're definitely enough to mount a short attack on and try and stretch the group. And whilst you might not break away off the front, you could definitely lose riders off the back of the group and see that group start to get smaller. And that, I imagine, it was the aim here with Moreno and Simeons and Smythe all pushing on at the front. Parisi is in there as well with Kirchner and Kranich, but they haven't lost any riders. That small effort over the bridge, not quite long enough to do much damage to the group, but it has wound the pace up a little bit. So the pace now remaining high as the push continues over the top of the climb. Caligula, Quadrelli are all in there. So is Cam Winfield. Cam Winfield taking the win in a road race in real life this week, as well as being part and parcel of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Phenomenal ride in our July final to take second place in Category 2 from the young rider. So a rider really on form at the moment, but Quadrelli is in here. We know Quadrelli climbs really well, Matt. So this is all of our categories today. We are looking forward to some great racing, and these riders pretty much making the play that it's going to be the final climb today that really sorts this out.
Well, with the length of that climb, I'm not surprised. And remember, of course, that we have 2 climbs today. The first one is a Category 4. So that's a very basic categorized climb. And that is basically a shorter climb, generally, that comes early in the stage, or one that is not expected to be as decisive. The last climb, the MyWhoosh, it is a monster climb. It's horse category climbing. That means that that is the top of the tree. It's not a 4, it's not a 3, it's not a 2, it's not a 1, it's a horse category. It is beyond category, which is pretty much the direct translation from the French. So beyond category, it is out there, and it is just so long and so high, and that is going to really test his ride. It would be my complete anathema of a climb. I would absolutely not want to touch that thing with a barge pole. It is on my bucket list of rides to climb up there, but maybe I might have to borrow an e-bike or somebody to do that instead, because that's probably the only way you're going to find me climbing that well.
Well, not needing an e-bike today is his Category 1 group. Vujasin is here with Hoyes and Harburg. Norin is in here as well. This group are just rolling and rolling very comfortably at the moment. Got a Category 2 rider very happily ensconced in the middle of that group as we take a look on the right-hand side of the screen, and that is SS and Graves. Now, these 2 riders are away and clear of the pack, and you can see there we're looking at around 650 meters now, so extending their lead on the road at the moment as they pick up Schretting, one of the Category 2 riders, just kicking there to see if they can push on and stay on the wheels. But Graves and SS are time trialing away from this pack. They are continuing to motor and continuing to work. So the 2 riders clear of this chase group. 34 riders currently in this chase group. It is a huge chasing group coming in to this bridge. They are about to go under the banner, indicating the end of that section. Well, we're seeing a rider now push on the front here. Hassan Sultan is the rider pushing 6.7 watts per kilo, utilizing the push of this bridge section, the gradient here to try and stretch this group and try and make it smaller. But the only thing he's doing, Matt, is dropping the 2 Category 2 riders that were inside the pack.
And that's unfortunate for them, that little bit of an acceleration has broken away the riders. So the leading riders heading out on to the course in Category 1, Graves and SS clear of this group. And for me, this is going to be a key moment.
Yeah, and here we are indeed. This is the final sprint section. This is the final 300-meter section in our segments today. Just the 2 climbs left to go. And take a look at that. That is Hassan Sultan setting the fastest time of 27 seconds through there, the Category 1 rider. But it is a real mix and match of Category 1 and Category 2 riders, pretty much around that 27, 28, 29 second mark, right the way through the top 50 riders through that section. You know, it is indeed a kind of boner from Category 4, currently in 60th place at 31 seconds. So the Category 1 pack moving pretty much the same as the Category 2 pack through that section. No real time differential with SS and Graves, so they are holding out in front of that group. In fact, this pack now more likely to see back markers from the other races, because that's a Category 4 rider just up ahead of them on the road around the bend. So X100 is in here. Von Haren, Volk, Sultan, Safrazad, Montoya, Ilpino, Howeller, all in here. Harrison Bailey joining us. as well. So great to see a new rider joining the pack today. He's not the only new rider in here. Raw Solly as well from Norway is in the pack, another new rider with us today. So great to see riders joining the Sunday Race Club, fitting into this leading pack and giving us some what could be really great racing today.
Yeah, great racing for sure, and great to see just how controlled and how smart these riders are. They're not going down the road. They've been given a little bit of an incentive. Somebody's just dangled it in front of them. Are they going to chase it? Well, no, not. They're not going to go mad. They're not going to go too crazy. They're going to see how they're going. Now, let's go across to categories 3 and 4. And as you can see, Rob Miller and Alex Pleasure are steadily working their way through the riders in category 4. But these category 3 riders at the moment have a gap. Their lead at the moment is 20 seconds. They're down at the base of the run down at 29k, and that means they've come off the slopes of the Aquarium climb, and this is now that flat run in to 31 kilometers. And at 31k, they will then find themselves at the base of the climb. So our riders starting to approach that final climb. The leading riders on the road on the left hand side of your screen, and it's not very far back to the chasers. This is in category 3 in the blue. Category 4 leaders are still down the road in front, and so that means that Rob Miller, currently 21st rider on the road, the leading rider in category 3. And interestingly, Alex Pleasure again just behind Miller. Miller really doing the work and pushing on at the moment to try and stay clear of that group behind. Renato Sartor, Rio Ramos just sandwiched in between these groups of category 3 riders. The category 4 rider, really the red jam in the sandwich there between the front and the back of the pack, as we see a little bit of a look back here. Just in it looks like that's going to be David Ospina Hernandez, who is opening up a gap on the group. And do you know what? He has got 4 or 5 seconds on that group very quickly there, Emma.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So SS and Graves now a minute down the road. So that two-man time trial away from this group really working. Ospina Hernandez, well, I think he's thinking a minute is too much. So Ospina Hernandez pushing on here. The pack, well, Knudsen has come to the front, but with a little bit of help from Vujasin. But they are not pushing that hard. They're not pushing at a pace that's going to be bringing Ospina Hernandez back. X100 also coming through to mark out now. 6 seconds back to the pack. You can just see them having come round that right-hand bend.
They've gone around that right-hand bend, and we are at the start of the climb for Category 1. So Category 1 honour to the climb. They have got riders different. They are on the climb of the Aquarium, as these riders, Category 4, the leaders on the road, are on to our final climb of the day here. So we have the 2 climbs at either end of our race field in terms of race leaders. Category 4 leaders, big pack of riders now on the way up, getting that classic Yenzi quote there, shut up legs in front. Well, they're going to be screaming by the time they get to the top of this climb, because this is tough stuff, and we are seeing another big push on the front. Who's opening up the throttles here? It's starting to stretch here. This is going to be absolutely key. What's going to happen as they make their way up this slope?
Well, that Category 4 race was Luke Allport off the front. 3 minutes now his gap. It was a chase group of 13 going into the bottom of the climb, but now being stretched, and riders getting distanced off the back of that chasing group in Category 4. Now, not much further down the road, in fact, just about going under the banner signifying the start of this final Hawk category climb. In Category 3 is Rob Miller and Alex Pleasure. They are the 2 riders clear at the front of the Category 3 race field, around 600 metres behind that chase group in Category 4. Much further down the road, they are in the underwater tunnels, is the Category 2 race field. Nicholas Spratt is the rider pushing on away from Daniel Cadiz and Ryan Giuliano. So Spratt pushing on this first climb, the Category 4 climb. And, well, That's Stefan van Elst just dropping into the tunnel. The next rider to push on from that chasing group in Category 1 to try and close the gap on SS and Graves, who are around 50-something seconds up the road.
So the gaps continue to open up in these groups. But look at this, Stefan van Elst here. He's on to this aquarium climb. He is starting to stretch his legs out here. And this is a good gap now that's opened up 7 seconds. It looks a long way on this climb, but that is because we are on one of the flatter sections. And the response comes from Michael Knudsen. Knudsen on his way. Michael Knudsen pushing. He's going to try and close this gap down. Can he get onto the heels of Van Elst? Van Elst, a rider who is raced against time and time again. And Norren now starting to move behind. 5.9 watts per kilo coming out of Norren there. That big kick from him. And you're seeing the big names in front. Zach Nair, Michael Kaminski. They're all looking at the front of this race now thinking we need to move. We need to be up with them. So we have got 2 riders at the road, 2 chasing riders. We've got the big pack of riders behind. This is the aquarium climb. This is the penultimate climb before our main climb of the day. This may only be a Category 4, but boy, is it setting this race alight.
Well, Elst second in the qualifier race number 1 last month. Michael Knudsen second in the final last week. These 2 riders pushing on and working out together. Tim Cutler is the rider with Michael Kaminski, who wants to go as well. And now this is the danger of trying to break away from this group, because there is stacked with phenomenal riders and no one's going to want to let this go. Look at the stretch on the right hand corner of your screen. You can see the stretch this climb and this pace from Knudsen is having. Kaminski's going at 9 watts per kilo. Safrazad's just shy of 10. This is a sprint effort to make sure you're not missed out on this group at the moment. So Cutler, Safrazad, Norren, Vujasin, Hoyas, Kaminski, Van Elst, Bjorklund, all wanting to be part and parcel of this. Nair doesn't want to lose it either. So these riders pushing, they are going in 2s and 1s, and this is a huge stretch across this climb.
So the group stretching out that pull, as Emma indicated, really is doing damage at the back. It's also, of course, pulling away at the front. The middle group really now have to make some decisions. Do they go? Do they allow this group to go? Can you imagine what would happen if we saw people like Cutler, Kaminski, Knudsen, Van Elst joining up with the riders at the front there? This would make a really strong group. If they could get clear, they could well push into that climb and put people like Hoyos in trouble. Hoyos at the moment is at the front of that leading group behind. He's trying to come across the gap, and I think he's got his work cut out. Lionel Vujasin here is in no man's land between another breaking group and that big chasing pack behind. He's got Safrazad and Norren trying to go with him, and the damage is being done now. What's going to happen? Riders gone up to the front. They're bringing more across. It's that little magnet. It might be bigger at the back, but there's more force. There's more attraction to be at the front. You want to be in that front group. So it's sucking riders from the group at the back up to the group at the front. That means that suddenly there will be a point where we reach a tipping point. That tipping point will be when that front group is stronger than the back group. And that's not to do with numbers. That is to do with the quality, the speed, the pace of the riders and how well they work together. This is a critical moment in the race here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier number 1, because this is where the decision may be made.
Well, that's it. I think that is the decision made. That is the split, because you know, from the top of this climb, Matt, there's only 4 kilometers to the base of that final climb. This group are not going to want to let the rest of that Category 1 pack come back together, because this is a select group. Popovic, Bjorklund, Zanaska, Quintero, Montoya, Von Haren. Those are the riders there. They are working hard. And take a look at that climb. That push by Knudsen, giving him the fastest time on that aquarium climb. 5 minutes, 44 seconds. Vujasin, Kaminski, Hoyas, Norren, Cutler, Van Elst, Safrazad, Popovic, Walter, Bjorklund, and Holweller. Now, they are the chasing riders. They are not the riders out front. I am just taking a little bit of a scroll down, trying to find the gap to SS and Graves. Well, it's 41 seconds. 41 seconds. Knudsen went up that climb quicker than SS and Graves. So it's interesting now to take a look at the gap. The gap now down to 39 seconds. It was out over a minute, but the effort from Knudsen et al. On that climb, well, the gap is coming down, Matt. So as the gap comes down, we watch the group here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 riders in this chasing group. That's 9 riders who made the selection on what was the aquarium climb. The aquarium climb where this selection has been made, where the group has gone from 34 riders down to 9 in the chasing group. They are chasing SS and Philip Graves. They are 37 seconds down the road. And this group, a bit of a gap back now to another couple of chase riders, and then the rest, the remnants of the group further behind. So Van Elst, Cutler, Vujasin, Kaminsky, Knudsen, Safrazad in here as well. It is a select group, and on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see around 400 meters down the road. That is SS and Graves. So SS and Graves continuing to push, continuing to work. They are heading towards the base of the hot category climb. There is the Hebel Hees. It is 13.5 kilometers in length, the segment. Then there's a 500-meter run to the checkered flag. Now, can SS and Philip Graves stay out, or is this chase group that we're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen going to make the catch? It's Michael Knudsen pushing on at the front. Cutler and Vujasin are working hard. Now, the pace much higher from this smaller group than we saw earlier on. They are keen now not to let the gap go out too much before they get to the base of the climb. It's now only shy of 30 seconds. So the chase group in this Category 1 race, the next rider they are going to see is a Category 4 back marker. It's going to be one of our red jersey wearers. Now, our red jersey Category 4 race was the first race of today, 20 minutes before our Category 1 riders. So Briodi is the rider being swept up by this Category 1 chase group. 9 riders in here at the moment, giving chase to SS and Philip Graves, who are still 30 seconds down the road. So the pace of the chasing 9 pretty much steady state with the pace of the leading 2. So SS and Philip Graves are heading now towards the mountain. You can see on the top right-hand corner of their screen the green triangle indicating they will shortly be seeing the slopes heading skywards and the numbers of the gradient starting to rocket. That red polka dot banner just coming up into the distance. So we are still in with this exciting Category 1 race. These 2 leading riders have 30 seconds difference to the chasing 9. They are going into this climb with a 30-second gap. Is it going to be enough? I am not sure about that. Normally this is the point where we see Graves back off, but with 30 seconds going into the climb, are we going to see a different tactic from him today?
I think this is a fantastic tactic by Phil Graves. Maybe he's got napping here, Emma. Maybe this Phil Graves been out and done some secret training. That means that instead of going to the base of the climb, he's sat and he's been going, and now he's going to be able to go and climb with SS. But look at SS go here. He really is starting to pile the pressure on Phil Graves. He is out of the saddle here, and now comes that big pack. This is all about getting back in a super fast, super. Can he do that? Can he push hard enough? Let's see how he's going.
Well, let's see how he's going because he is pushing on. But this pack are coming. So Kaminsky, Cutler, Safrazad, Hoyas, Knudsen, Bjorklund, Zanaska, Popovic. These are phenomenal climbers. We have seen them week in, week out ascend the mountains at a seriously strong pace. And this pace currently at the moment around 6 watts per kilo. These riders are pushing out. The gradient 7.8% currently. And we've got a rider we can see coming up onto the back of this group as well. So pushing hard, pushing fast, the group are rising, and it's Zach Nair who is coming. Zach Nair putting in a push off the back here to try and catch that chasing group. 5 seconds further down the road is indeed the group that they left in the underwater tunnels, the group that didn't make the selection in the aquarium climb, but it is Zach Nair. I think Nair is going to make the juncture to that chasing group of 9. That chasing group is going to become 10. Phenomenal riding by Nair to come back to that group on the climb. Now that tells me Nair is on some form today and his legs are feeling good. Somebody else whose legs are feeling good is Luke Allport on the right-hand side of your screen, the current leader on the road today. An hour and 9 minutes of racing under his wheels. He's currently leading that Category 4 race, climbing strongly. McMurtry is second rider on the road, but I think it's minutes, and it is indeed minutes. It's around 2 minutes Allport has. Now, he had 3 minutes going into the base of the climb. So the chasing group are climbing very, very strongly behind. Brett McMurtry has moved into second place in that race. Valles is with a group of riders, including Adriano Zanaska. So we have a lone rider in 1, a lone rider in 2, and then 3 riders chasing with another rider, Wacker's Butt, just coming up and joining them. But in the Category 1 race, well, Graves and SS are still tapping out the pace. They are still tapping out a time trial pace up this mountain. Now SS is the rider in the blue cap and the blue socks. Graves is the rider in the yellow helmet and black shades, continuing to tap up the mountain. So Graves digs again to stay on the wheel of SS. The rest of the riders being led by Nigel Knudsen. It's about 20 plus seconds back to Knudsen and Van Elst. On the right-hand side of your screen, these are the riders up the road from Graves and SS. This is the Category 2 race field. And you can see they are about 650 meters further up the mountain. So are we going to see SS and Graves come on to the back of the Category 2 field, before the Category 1 pack catch? I don't think so, because that is the train, that is the Category 1 race pack chasing SS and Graves, and you can see that absolutely coming up the mountain. They are now 13 seconds behind SS and Graves. I think this catch is going to be made shortly. So Nair got onto the back of the group. He made the juncture back onto this chasing group making it 10 riders. So 10 riders here about to catch the 2 riders who have been clear for a phenomenal amount of time in this Category 1 race. SS and Graves are shortly going to see Vujasin, Hoyas, Zanaska, Van Elst, Popovic, Cutler. These riders who are in this chasing group. So the gap's now down to 10 seconds. This group can see the 2 riders out front. They are just going up round the bend and taking on board a couple of Category 4 riders in their wake and a Category 3 rider as well. So Vujasin continuing to push, making sure the pace remains high in this chasing group with Van Elst and Bjorklund, Cutler and Knudsen. Nair is in here too. These riders continuing to work hard because they've got Graves and SS now in their sights.
Looking really good here, Emma. I'm really impressed by this attack and the moves. The counter-attack, a really absorbing contest in here. And who is going to take this out? This is surely going to be about who paces this right, not about who puts in the right attack, because you go too hard too soon, you're going to be in trouble later on this climb. It is just so much longer than many of the climbs that we have here, super steep as well. I think this is going to be about making sure pacing is spot on. What do you think?
Well, I think I agree with you, Matt, because let's be realistic. We are still only 33.6 kilometres into a 45-kilometre race. So there is still a long way to go up this mountainside. You know, whilst the action has taken place on these lower slopes in terms of trying to bring back SS and Graves, there is still a long way to go, and someone we know who is great at pacing a long climb is X100, who's on the right-hand side of your screen now. Not part and parcel of the 10-man group chasing Graves and SS, slightly further back. In fact, it's looking like he's 15 seconds off the back of that chase group. You can just see further up the road has Simon Walter for company. But we know this is a rider who can pace a long climb well. Do not discount X100 at all from this group, because I think it won't be long till we see him start to pick off riders who are currently further up the road.
And that's his style, isn't it? He's always the man who's going to be able to sit there, pace and pick and catch. And he's got riders in other groups as well, which is always that extra incentive, isn't it? If you've got riders that you can chase, you can close down, getting the riders in front as a target to see, to go. And he doesn't change his pace, but it's still motivation, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, some riders like the motivation of being out front and wanting to maintain the gap to the chasers. Other riders like the motivation of seeing another rider down the road and picking them off one by one by one. Two very different motivational strategies that would give you a very different racecraft. X100, definitely one of those riders who likes to ride his own pace and continuing to pick riders off. Now, SS and Graves being brought back into the fold, and one of the riders we've not seen very much of today so far, that is Michael Vink. I have had to just double check he is actually in the race and not just on the start sheets. He is indeed, keeping his powder very, very dry today. The rest of the teammates are the ones that are making all of the action, as we see Popovic and Knudsen pushing on the power here. SS brought back into the group now. Hoyas and Kaminsky, Cutler and Van Elst are all in here. Now, I don't think Vink is in this group, to be honest.
No, I've just been watching. I've been scrolling down furiously whilst you've been covering the action there. Just really looking to see. I think we're not going to see a Vink victory at the time. I just can't see that he's got wherever he's got to. I think he's gone a bit further back. It may well be that he's done a specific effort and he's leaving it. He knows he's got some great teammates in there. Mr. X100, Michael Knudsen and co. And here we are, Michael Vink. He's on the slopes. He is currently a kilometre down from Mr. X100. So here he is. That's for Michael Vink. That is a recovery effort. Surely, that is got to be one of the steadiest runs he's done for a long, long time. Look at that, real steady, real smooth. He's on his way up, and Carlos Ospina just in front, Vidal Mayer behind him. Look at this, Mr. X100. He's picking up riders. He's got Zach now with him now. These two riders chasing Stefan Van Elst, Tim Cutler and co. Mr. X100 here doing what he does best, sitting at a pace, sitting at a tempo, looking to close the gaps down, looking to push on here. This is really going to be key to his ascent of the mountain. Johan Noren at the moment, though, he's pushing on. 6 watts a kilo just coming out from him. A response by Knudsen, who leads up this big group of chasing riders. So as they come up here, you can see the Noren, Vujasin, Popovic, Knudsen, Safrasad in here. This is such a strong group, and this group surely cannot come together and stay together all the way to the summit. We're at 35.6k, so that means just under 10k to go, or 6 miles in Imperial money. Meanwhile, Tom Gates leading category 3 here, but boy, has he got his work out. He has got some big names. Dutch is in there, Esteban is in there, Nogueira in there as well. You can see Rodriguez is not far behind him as well as that. It's a huge group, and look at that. They are chasing Brett McMurtry and Luke Allport. Surely at the top of this climb, though, Allport should stay clear. He's got a 2-minute gap, 30 seconds to McMurtry. That is definitely doable, but anything can happen. We still have 7 kilometres for these riders to get to the summit. And remember, of course, they're not at the very front of the road. They're not the leading riders on the road.
No, they're not indeed, but this is a big group. You know, there's 10 riders from Category 3 in that group. They have joined the chasing group of Category 4 riders. 2 riders down the road in front of them. Luke Allport is the rider leading at the moment the race. He's 800 metres further up the climb from this chasing group. Brett McMurtry is the rider in the middle. It might be 2 minutes, but it's only 800 metres. But 800 metres of climbing at 6%, well, that's still a long way to go. Now, a little bit further back down the mountain, we are in with the leading group in the Category 1 race. They are about to catch the leading group in the Category 2 race, and these are 2 big groups coming together. So we are looking at seeing around 12 Category 1 riders come up onto this leading group of Category 2 riders. That's an even bigger group on the road. There's one Category 2 rider further down the road. I can see on the top right-hand corner of my screen a push coming off the front of that, and we've got a lone rider just going round the bend now ahead of this group that is being caught. So a good time to put a push on here as we see a frantic scrabble from these Category 2 riders to pick up their pace and try and hang on for as long as possible to these Category 1 riders. But it's Noren and Vujassin who are leading the charge with Knudsen from this Category 1 race field. It is Betty who was the rider out front, but Betty has now been caught and passed. So Vujassin, Knudsen, Noren, the 3 riders past this pack already. Safrazad is coming through as well. So these riders now pushing on. Noren really trying to continue that push to stretch past these Category 2 racers, and well, they don't want to take anybody with them.
They certainly don't. You don't want to bring anybody with them because it's just going to confuse matters. It's not going to keep that racing clean, but they have got 1 or 2 Category 2 riders in and around the mix. And because this is a slightly lessening of the gradient, when you see on the top right-hand side of the screen that hairpin turn, the long run in, the hairpin and the turn back round, on the Hebelhace here, it isn't too steep. It doesn't kick up. It's not like an alpine pass. So in an alpine pass, what you'll see is the gradients go to 14, 15, 16%. Here on the Hebelhace, when you're going to do the turn, you get a leveling off that. Makes it a little bit better to get around that corner, but it's a change in gradient, and we're kicking back up again. We're turning into the mountain, into the slope, 5, 6, 7% kicking in. Now back down to 3.8. This is about making sure you're with this lead group, that you are not distanced. The selection is steadily being made. One by one, we are losing riders off the back. One by one, we are picking up riders who set off in front of our Category 1 leaders. Remember, there was 5 minutes to the Category 2. There was a further 10 minutes to the Category 3 and another 5 minutes to Category 4. So 20 minutes from the first to the last rider setting off onto the course. This is your Category 1 leaders on the slope. And at the moment, they have got their work cut out. They are trying to close riders down in front, but they know they are fighting for the top 5 positions in their category. And interesting to see that we've got Stefan van Elst at the moment. He is in no man's land. He's between our lead group and the chasing group, led by Mr. X100 with Michael Kaminski and Bjorklund behind. Van Elst out of the saddle here. He's working hard. He's continuing to push. He hasn't got too far to go if he could accelerate up to get to the group in front, but I think that's a big ask. If you've been dropped on this climb, you've been dropped for a reason.
Well, I think X100 is about to come up onto his wheel. The question is, can he stay with the faster rider coming from behind, and can they work together to get back up the mountain? Kaminsky and Nair Bjorklund have all been passed by X100 because X100 was with Simon Walter at one point. So X100 doing what he does on these types of climbs, ignoring what is going on in front, setting his own pace and riding up the mountain and picking up riders on the way. He's just picked up Stefan Van Elst. Van Elst drops onto his wheel. How long can Van Elst stay with him as X100 continues to push on those pedals? Van Elst responding. This could be an awesome duo working the way up this mountain if they can work together, if Van Elst can stay there, because the group further up the road, at my last count, there were 8 Category 1 riders in this pack and 6 Category 2 riders. It's going to be a really interesting race to see how long those Category 2 riders can hang into this leading group of Category 1 riders. But I'm sure as soon as they light the fire beneath their wheels, those Category 2 riders, well, they will go out the back.
And when they do go out the back, they're going to be in the sights of Mr. X100, who is chasing hard behind. He's going to try and use them if there's distance from the lead pack. He's going to try and pick them up. Category 1 leaders, left-hand side of your screen. Right-hand side of your screen, though, 39.7k covered. This is the big pack of riders up at the front of the race, but they are not the race leaders. Remember, we've got Allport and McMurtry leading the race out. They are up the road. However, this is a really interesting fight here in that Category 3 race. We've just seen a little bit of a push on up at the front. I don't think this group want to go too early. I think they're looking to maybe put a little dig in. We've just seen Didac just squeezing on here at 6 watts per kilo, but he's not going to be able to hold that to the top of the climb with 5 kilometers to go in a 45-kilometer race. At the moment, Andrej Didac leading. He's put in an attack. He's pushed at 6 watts per kilo. Staples responding. Ismail Nogueira behind him also responding. They're in one long line. This is tough stuff, and it's Didac who is making it tough on the front. They want to get back in together. This is an attack and a close. This is not one effort to the top because there's no way they can sustain this for a further 5 kilometers. But boy, it's already starting to do damage. They are not far away from closing in on the wheel of the leader on the road. That is Luke Allport. Allport, the rider at 40.69, so 40.7k now. Behind, it's at 40.2, so they are separated at the moment by about 500 meters on this climb of the Jebel Yais. Who is going to be the first rider to the top? Will our Category 1 riders catch them all? They are now at 39 kilometers. They're coming, and they're coming quick.
Yeah, they are indeed coming quick. They've caught Jonas Bjarhed. He is one of the riders in the mix in the Category 2 race. So Henry Uis Kranic is in here. Betty is in here. Bjarhed is in here. That's at least 4 of the Category 2 riders. Safrazad, SS, Vujasin, Knudsen, Zanaska, Hoyas are all in here. X100 and Van Elst are still working together, and you know what? They are coming. They are closing down. They are only about 8 seconds off of that Category 1 leading pack. I think they're going to make it unless there is a concerted push from the front. But the UAE clan team, they are going to want Mr. X100 back in their mix. But he is bringing Van Elst with him if Van Elst can stay there. Now, on the front of that group, it is Noren pushing on. He's seen the danger from behind because X100 is about to make the juncture. So Noren, Popovic, Knudsen, Vujasin, Hoyas, Zanaska, they are pushing on. A bit of a gap now, 3 seconds between the front and back. Knudsen now taking up the charge. They are coming up to just over 5 kilometers left on this climb. Vujasin, Knudsen, Noren, Popovic, Safrazad, Zanaska, they are all consummate climbers. It's anybody's at the moment.
It is anybody's at the moment. That attack by Nussen, I mean, he went at about 9.7, nearly 10 watts per kilo. That's a monumentally big dig to put in. And again, we're seeing another push. Johan Noren up there. Response coming from Knudsen, who we're in with. This is a brutal on the climb. This is a really, really tough day. We saw them come in to the base of the climb and then hit it, and really, that, as you said at the start of the show, Emma, has been decisive. This big long climb, it is so long. A 13.5k climb, 763 meters of climbing on the way up here. That is just to get to the 500 meter to go point, because of the banner for the finish of the climb will come in at 44.5k. The finish itself comes in at 45, so 500 meters separating the climb banner from the finish banner. And Knudsen with this leading group here. Hoyos climbing well yet again. I'm really impressed also by SS, because he was in that breakaway, and here he comes. His blue bandana is there. He's up onto the back of the group. So Hoyos there with his blue bandana, the blue cap of SS in that group. You can see SS, he's riding strong. He was in the breakaway. He was working hard there, and he's in with this group that's at the lead of this race. That is some effort.
It is indeed some effort, and the push from Knudsen, well, that's done a couple of things. It's meant that the Category 2 leaders have now been dropped from this group. It's also meant that X100, who had literally just made the juncture to the back of the group, has also been dropped, but in true X100 style, continuing to tap out that time trial pace up the mountain, and will continue to try and push on as far up the race field as he can. But it's Johan Noren who is pushing on here. Popovic responding. Vujasin is there. They are working their way up this mountain and up through the rest of the race fields who started before them. Heath Eckersley, Jimanuan and Abello are going to be the next three riders in their sights, all in that Category 3 race, as Noren, Popovic, Knudsen push. It's a 4-second gap now back to Vujasin. So little gaps now starting to appear as the pushes continue on this climb.
And it's Knudsen on the attack. You saw him come flying through that group there. He wove his way through, really hammering down on those pedals. Who would go with him? Who is going to respond instantly? Noren Popovic doing that behind his SS Vujasin, Hoyos Safrazad. They are in that group. Zadnaska in that group behind. And now is this the move that sees Knudsen bring it down to potentially 3 riders? Knudsen, he's the rider with the shaved arrowhead look on him. You've got Noren with the red bandana, and you've got Pablo Popovic in his traditional black. But Noren continuing to push on here. He's putting Popovic in a little bit of trouble. Popovic is going to need to come back, but now Knudsen goes over the top. He sees the riders are behind us, still at 4 seconds. They're not out of sight. They're not out of mind. They are up close, and it's going to get personal. This is going to come down to what they can do in the last 3.5 kilometers here. This is going to be bumping. It's going to be barging. This is going to be absolutely everything. There's not going to be much left in the riders' tanks. They're going to empty them. They're going to hit the reserve tank, and then they are going to be running on faith and hope alone, because this is tough stuff. We are near towards the end of the MyWhoosh Sunday race final climb here. This is the Jebel Yace climb, the final climb of the day, the long climb of the day, and this in qualifier race number 1 is a decisive moment. Can these 3 riders stay clear? They're never going to be able to break away. This is what it's about. Come on, guys, we want to see a aggressive race, and this is what we're getting.
Well, we are indeed getting aggressive racing, and it's groups of 3s at the moment. Noren, Knudsen and Popovic, they are the 3 away at the moment. On the right-hand side of your screen is the back of what was the group not long ago, and that is X100 continuing to work his way up the mountain. So around 220 meters down the hill. In between are the chasing Category 1 riders. So Knudsen, Noren and Popovic, they are clear. Safrazad is leading the charge behind. It's about 5 seconds back to Safrazad. Vujasin is there as well as they continue to push, and they are trying to close that gap down to these 3 leading riders. Knudsen, Popovic and Norin. Safrazad, Hoyas and Vujasin are the riders behind. They are continuing to push this group of 3 are chasing the leading group of 3. There's then a smaller gap back to SS and Luka Zanaska. X100 is the rider then behind. It is absolutely eyeballs out here in this Category 1 race. They are racing for the top 5 individual podium positions today in this qualifier race number 1 on the Sunday Race Club. There is now just under 3 kilometers to go for this group. It's 3 kilometers on this mountain. It's a horse category climb with the checkered flag at the top.
And this is what they're all aiming for. They want that win. They want to be there first. They want to be that rider who gets the confetti cannons going, that fires off the explosives as they cross the line, that gets to put their name on the leaderboard as the winner of qualifier race number 1. This is absolutely key. But when you've raced so hard for so long, remember that clock is well and truly ticking here today, because we've got 1 hour 13 minutes of racing plus covered already. This is tough stuff, and that's Category 1. Remember, it's 1 hour 33 for Luke Allport, who is up at the 43k marker. He's still holding them off. Can he make it into the finish? Well, that's a massive ask, particularly with that move there. Look at that. Knudsen straight up onto Norin and Popovic's wheel. Emma, who's going to take this? 3 riders clear at the moment. Can they stay clear? And if they do stay clear, who is going to be? Who's your favourite here?
Well, this is an interesting finale to qualifier race number 1. Luke Allport in Category 4 has been out on his lonesome for so long, leader on the road. And, you know, he's lost 500 metres on this climb in the last kilometre. Now, with 2k still to go, that puts my money on him not being the first rider over the line today, which will be such a shame. A reward for that effort absolutely deserved for Allport. But Norin, Knudsen and Popovic, well, this Category 1 race is motoring up this climb. All 3 of these riders absolutely capable of taking the win. 3 riders behind, chasing now 16 seconds further back down the mountain. So I think our winner today is going to come from Popovic, Norin or Knudsen. Which one it is anybody's guess. If you want me to put money on it, well, I think it depends on whether Popovic has got his kick or whether Knudsen is going to ride away. But it's likely it could be a UAE clan rider, because Norin is up against 2 of them.
Yeah, and strength in depth for the UAE clan team too, out of the 3. And here they come, the yellow dots weaving their way through. Look at the pace. This is why they are the best of the best. But look behind them, we are seeing riders coming as well. This is really brutal stuff today. And I think, I mean, we were saying these 3 were clear. I'm not sure they're as clear as maybe we think they are, because the riders are coming up behind them, and with this frantic race to get back on the wheels, I think we've gone through the riders in blue, and I think Popovic is in danger of being caught up by Hoyos behind. It's only a few seconds, but look at this, Knudsen kicking on here, wanting to push 43.5k of this 45k course covered. So it's Knudsen, it's Popovic, it's Norin, then it's Hoyos, then it's going to be Vujasin and Safrazad together. They cannot relax for a second in this front group. There is no time to finesse. There is no time for tactics. They can't soft tap and take a soft turn on there. They are going to have to push all the way. And I'll tell you something, Tom Gates here and Jack Staples are responding to the riders coming through, because the Category 3 riders are holding on to the wheels here, and it shows you just how tight and how much effort these Category 1 riders have expended, because we are seeing riders in Category 3 holding on to the wheels, as behind on the right-hand side of your screen, Juan Hoyos is trying to claw them back. Those are the riders just in front of him. You can see that same arch going over the top of the road. That shows you the distance between these riders. It is not over yet by any stretch of the imagination as we head into 1 kilometre to go. Not long until we get there. This is tough stuff. 1k to go though for Didush, for Nogueira and for Allport. Allport has been caught. It's by Nogueira and Didush. First and through goes the rocket that is Michael Knudsen. Knudsen rockets past them and uses them to get a lead here. He's got the gap. The response is coming behind, but it's 3 seconds. Emma, can he make it?
Well, you know, he's coming up for 800 metres to go before he passes through that finish banner. Knudsen kicking, Popovic now responding at 8 watts per kilo. Johan Noren is trying to hang on by the skin of his teeth, but he's 3 seconds further back down the road. So Knudsen in 1, Popovic in 2, Noren in 3. They continue to work their way up this mountain. Knudsen is kicking and kicking really hard now away from his teammate Popovic. Popovic is hanging on and matching Knudsen power for power as Noren is the rider now getting dropped off the back. That is the polka dot archway signifying the end of the climb. It's 500 metres to the finish line.
500 metres, 3 seconds separating. Now 4, now 3, now 4, now 3. Yo-yoing up and down between the race leader Michael Knudsen, the second place Pablo Popovic. Behind it's a further 10 seconds or so to Johan Noren. Popovic has his teammate in his sight, but team rivalry is almost as great as overall race rivalry here at the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club qualifier number 1 finale here on the slopes of the Jebel Yace. They have climbed their way to the top of the mountain. They've gone through the polka dot banner, but the one they want is that yellow banner. And I think Pablo Popovic has snapped, or has he? He's closing it back down again. But look at the gap. Knudsen is going to see the gantry. He's going to see the finish. Is he going to make it?
Well, Popovic is kicking, but Knudsen is there. Knudsen can see it. Popovic is coming. Popovic is kicking nearly 9 watts per kilo now. But Michael Knudsen is going to take the win today. So Knudsen from the UAE clan team takes the win on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Pablo Popovic, his teammate, comes through for 2. And Johan Noren, who made all the work with Knudsen and Popovic back down the mountain, is going to come through in 3rd place today.
What a ride by Johan Noren coming through to take 3rd place. This is the run. It's going to be Tom Gates versus Andre Didush. Didush goes over the top. Didush dives for the line. He's going to take it. He comes through in front of Gates. Then it's going to be Safrazad Vujasin Hoyos coming in through, chasing to the line in category 1. In category 3, Ishmael Nogueira is going to come through. Luke Allport is our next rider on the road, the man who led this race solo for so long. Brave move, going off so early in the race. He held all of the riders off most of the way up towards the summit, and it was only in the last few kilometers that the category 3 and 1 leaders came in past him. But it is going to be Allport who takes the win in category 4. Lucas Zanaska coming into the line. He's just ahead of Mr. X100, who continues to come in through over the line, followed by his teammate SS. Then it's going to be the race in that category 3. All these riders hurtling into the line. So your top riders over the line in category 1. It's Michael Knudsen in 1 for the UAE clan team, ahead of his teammate Pablo Popovic in 2. Then it's Johan Noren, Lionel Vujasin and Juan Hoyos in 3, 4 and 5 respectively. Said Safrazad back with us and back with the bang in 6th. Followed by Lucas Zanaska, then the 2 further UAE clan team riders, Mr. X100 and SS coming through. What a race from our riders. Emma, that was something special. I've really loved watching that and seeing a great start to August.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal racing, with Didush taking the win in category 3 and Luke Allport being rewarded with the win in category 4 for that lone breakaway. Well, August qualifier race number 1 has been fantastic. It has been great to see the racing, and what exciting racing in Arabia today. Matt has joined us from the World Championships in Glasgow. He is up there for the rest of the week covering the mountain bike cross country. He's going to be with you on his own next Sunday as I head to the World Championships in Glasgow to cover the artistic cycling and the cycle ball, two sports we don't see that often. So really looking forward to heading up to Glasgow to the World Championships to do that, leaving the Sunday Race Club in Matt's capable hands. In the meantime, if you want to get hold of us, Matt, where can we find you?
Please do get in touch. Don't forget to send us your currency suggestions for what we're going to tell you the prize money is coming out in. You can get hold of me. It is at Matt Fixer Payne across most of social media and the internet. Emma, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Biking Emma, and obviously MyWhoosh on all of the social media channels and also the great videos on the YouTube channel. So what a qualifier race number 1 has been for August. We will be heading into qualifier race number 2 next week. From Matt, from myself, from all of the team at MyWhoosh behind the scenes, stay safe, enjoy your riding, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.